Hey, welcome everyone to Fundraising Heroes with Good United. My name is Adam. I'm here at the GU HQ with some great colleagues. Colin, I'll introduce you to you later, as well as Chelsea from Colorectal Cancer Alliance, or CCA, because I like to stumble over my words from time to time. We'll notice that. Chelsea's got a great story about some of the recent stuff they did on Facebook, specifically around a tentpole event. I won't spill the goods too soon in that, though, but let's get into a couple things in terms of what to expect here. As a reminder for everyone that's jumped in on here, this will be recorded. This will be on demand. You can find it on LinkedIn actually this afternoon. As soon as this thing wraps, typically LinkedIn's pretty quick, and we'll do our best to get it on our website within the following next couple of days. And that way you can access it in multiple ways in case you have to jump off early or want to send this along to colleagues or peers or are not missing this. You are catching this on demand. Today's roadmap, we got roughly about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll take a quick look at what we have next in terms of digital events for Good United. We'll do some quick intros. I'll introduce formally Colin and Chelsea, two of my favorite people that I've run across here, both in my time at Good United as well as working with nonprofits. And we'll talk about how to convert mission awareness into fundraising revenue. We'll actually walk through some of the dirty statistics and like getting some granular bits that I'm really excited to talk about, not only how they impacted revenue, but then also how we got a better understanding of how people maybe wanted to help support the CCA mission, but weren't in a position to do so financially, and what those next steps look like. Again, not giving too much away, key takeaways from both Colin and Chelsea as well, and then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A open sessions. So altogether about roughly 40 minutes or so. Let's keep things moving here. Upcoming events. So if you have not signed up for this yet, June 8th, we have Facebook Fundraising Bootcamp. I've talked a couple of my team members here into helping me do this 1 hour event on June 8th. Go ahead and scan that, or you can go through a couple. You'll see a follow-up link in the emails going out this afternoon to let you register. We're about half capacity already. And what this is doing is giving the crash course and basics on Facebook fundraising in terms of giving tools, how to get those turned on, what to do with the native challenge surface if you're thinking about running some ad hoc challenges, how to treat or look at birthday fundraisers, community management within the aspect of how that runs for groups, and a whole bunch of other good stuff that honestly we were looking through. We couldn't find a one single spot that walks us through in a logical manner. And people have been asking for this. And this has been going on for about 2 months now. We finally said, hey, enough is enough. Let's do this thing. So I'm excited for this. It's free. It'll be on demand too. So if you get on the list, we'll make sure to get you the link if you are busy on June 8th. But again, Facebook Fundraising Bootcamp. Colin, who you'll be introduced here in just a second, is joining me, as well as with Molly. If you've seen any of our previous events, both of those people are so knowledgeable, entertaining, despite what Colin may say. I love getting to listen to him and his calm demeanor and helping me to understand more complex Facebook fundraising aspects and drilling it down into something that really you could take with action and next steps, regardless of the size of your nonprofit. Okay. I've got Courtney here sitting right across from me. She's helping me man the comment section. So throughout this portion coming up here, if you have questions, I'm going to do my best to work with Courtney and flag the comments or things that you want to hear from Chelsea or Colin as we go through this conversation path. And with that, I need to introduce some key people here. Colin, Chelsea, fire up your webcams. I'm going to bring you on now. And these two individuals, I will definitely let them introduce themselves. Colin, I've worked with since I've gotten to Good United for now about a year. He is a growth manager here, as well as Chelsea. I was introduced to a handful of months ago with Colorectal Cancer Alliance as a senior director of peer-to-peer giving. Colin, you first. Like, what is it that you actually do at Good United?
Yeah, so good to see everyone again. It's been a while since I joined in on one of these webinars with Adam. Really excited about the opportunity. I've been at Good United for 3 years now. I am a growth manager, and that's just a fancy way of saying getting people into conversational messaging platforms. Today, that's Messenger. And really leveling up that relationship, getting those people closer to the mission of our nonprofit partners, and ultimately helping drive revenue generating actions. So it's a little bit about me, but really excited about what we're going to get into today.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Colin. And Chelsea, give me a little bit of info about what you actually do at CCA, how long you've been there, and what we're going to be talking through today, I guess.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. It's awesome to be here. Really excited to represent the Alliance today. I am the Senior Director of Peer-to-Peer Giving at the Alliance, and my role is basically overseeing all of the community-based and peer-to-peer fundraising for the organization. So oversee our walk series, as well as our endurance and a little known thing called Facebook fundraising that we'll be digging into today. So super excited to talk about kind of a crazy last minute idea that Colin helped us make a reality and the results.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chelsea. And before I let you slide through, there's a lot that goes on for you on a day-to-day basis with the Alliance. I do want to make sure we take a few moments to highlight two things. One is, for those who don't know or unaware of your mission and what you all do over at the Alliance, and then we'll skip into what exactly this whole conversation is around and what came for that, what it was supporting. I know I asked you, what do y'all do? And you're going to be much more well-versed in this than I.
Yeah. So the Colorectal Cancer Alliance is the nation's largest organization focused on colorectal cancer. We're based in Washington, D.C., but we're a national organization. And we are really focused on three pillars of work: screen, care, and cure. So obviously increasing awareness and increasing screening, because screening does save lives. Care and caring for patients that have been impacted, and caregivers that have been impacted by this disease. And then, of course, cure, that life-saving research that is so needed and truly underfunded for this disease. So that's the Alliance in a really quick nutshell. We're really proud of the community that we have and our allies, which I think feeds right into the work that we did with you all, Good United.
Perfect. And then speaking of that, this all started off with Dress in Blue Day. So it would be a really great context. What in the world is Dress in Blue Day, and how does that play an important role with not only your day-to-day, but also the Alliance's overall portfolio of fundraising efforts?
Yeah, so Dress in Blue Day is sort of our Super Bowl day every year for folks in the CRC community. It's the beginning of March each year, which kicks off National Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It is where we encourage folks to dress in blue to increase awareness. And our allies really come out and this is a really exciting day for them. And it's a day where really in a time where this disease that oftentimes is stigmatized and can be sort of lonely is a time where our allies and the folks that are impacted by this disease really come out loud and proud and wear their blue to show support and raise awareness for CRC.
Perfect. I'm bringing Colin back. We're going to go switch to some talking heads. Colin and Chelsea. So to kick things off, now we have the preface of kind of what's going on, both with what the Alliance's mission is, Dress in Blue Day. There's a really great story about how this even came to be. And this being, hey, how do we use Facebook and Facebook Messenger to reach out to, I think Chelsea, as you so aptly called it, our sticky supporters, the people we know that are there and they're there to go for the mission. And how do we activate that in really some exploratory ways? I'm going to pause there. Colin, Chelsea, this is a great story. Colin, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and kind of taking the reins from the context of the Stop Soldier Suicide case study that we put out back in February and how that triggered the conversations with Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. So really how this all transpired was Chelsea had reached out to one of our team members, Maria. I'm sure you guys have seen her face around, stemming from the Stop Soldier Suicide case study, driving all that engagement. And she really got those wheels turning. Wanted to figure out sort of how we could leverage the Alliance supporters, meaning their subscribers coming into channel, and drive them towards taking action. I think whenever we initially started talking about, we had a session to be able to talk through, what does that look like? What assets can we use? What language? And is this going to be compelling enough to, really connect with the subscribers? One of the things that Chelsea and I harped on was really diving into that supporter experience and making sure that if we're sitting in the seat of a subscriber for the Alliance, will this resonate? And being extremely intentional about this campaign, knowing that every time we are trying to get someone involved and come back, we have to take a bit of their bandwidth out of their daily life. And so we really need to be able to serve them and give them an experience that's meaningful and everything else will follow, right? So if we're able to focus on that being a positive experience, then we know that results will come. And credit to Chelsea, she was very adamant that their subscribers and supporters were going to take action, although it was a bit of a limited base, and it panned out exactly how she thought it would. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And Chelsea, I'll let you sort of add on any sort of context there.
Yeah, so Colin, you summed it up really well, but I think what I would add is that to Colin's point, I said, while our community is not giant, they're super, super committed and really sticky to us as an organization and to this cause, and they're super passionate. And so the folks that have fundraised for us in the past and the folks that follow us on social and all of those things, we know that if we ask them to activate on something, they will. And we thought that this was a really great opportunity. We saw the case study around Stop Soldier Suicide and the traction that helped them gain in terms of awareness. And immediately I thought, we focus so much on awareness around Dress in Blue Day and National Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Why not use this new tool to enhance that kind of already campaign that's moving and grooving, and the awareness is there to now activate and ask our supporters to do a little more. And I was confident and hopeful, maybe not as confident as Colin thinks I was. I was super hopeful and pretty confident, and just really excited that it all panned out in the way that I thought it would, and that our supporters really showed up and activated in the way that we kind of had a hunch that they would.
That's so great. Also, I may be giving away some goods at the back end of this here too, but from the process of like standing this up, like, you wanted to try this. What was the effort from your team to stand up the content, or what did that look like from y'all's perspective?
Yeah, so that was really the beautiful thing about this, that we already had Dress in Blue Day planned. We already had things going on. We had even already talked about the possibility of asking our supporters to fundraise around Dress in Blue Day. So when I was on the Good United call and we saw like the new messaging capabilities and the Stop Soldier Suicide case study, I immediately thought this could be kind of the enhancement that takes us over the edge. So we didn't have to recreate the wheel on anything. We already had the language, we had the collateral. It was about giving it all to the Good United team and letting them work their magic with the technology. And I think that was the thing that was the most exciting, is that it didn't take a lot of resources. It didn't take a ton of time. Colin was amazing to work with in terms of, we sent him a bunch of stuff and he plugged it into the messaging platform. And it really was a light lift, and it was exciting to see those results with not a whole lot of effort.
That's so great. And Chelsea, I'm going to pull up the slides again, and there are three really distinctive things that, as we discussed kind of this leading up to today, and over the last month to 2 months, as this went through and tested, and there were three goals. Primarily, there were maybe some other ones, but can you walk us through what you wanted to achieve by ultimately running a test that hadn't been done in support of Dress in Blue Day before, in a channel that traditionally is more awareness for this event, this tentpole event, as opposed to other focuses such as revenue? Like, from you, what did you want to get out of that?
Yeah, I think that when you say test, I think that sums it up really well, but just going through the goals on the slide. So the first was engaging past supporters. We've talked a lot about how we've built through Good United such a great base of supporters, and we've got more information than we could ever have around folks that have fundraised for us in the past. And we really have talked a lot about what is the strategy to either bring those folks back, assess whether, it's Facebook that they really want to be involved with, or is there something more that we can engage with them through. And so that first goal was really around just kind of a new way of engaging past supporters to bring them back to Facebook fundraising and bring them back to the Alliance in some way. The second was really gaining that understanding of that potential impact. I saw the incredible impact in that case study with Stop Soldier Suicide and thought, would the same thing happen if we were asking them to raise money versus asking them to share a post, right? And I think that's what as Colin and I talked about this idea, kind of got us both excited about, hey, let's try it. Let's see what happens. I mean, worst thing that happens is we don't get very many folks. Best thing that happens is we find out, hey, this works for this ask too, and this call to action, which I think we did find out. And it was a great way to just figure out kind of all the different ways that we can use that tool. And then the third, Dress in Blue Day has been an event that has really been focused on heightened awareness. Like I said, it's kind of the Super Bowl for awareness for the CRC community and for the Alliance. We get a ton of traction on social media and media around that day and the month, Colon Cancer Awareness Month. But internally, and a lot of that has to do with, limited resources, we really have focused in on the call to action of getting screened, spreading awareness. And we haven't done a lot in terms of making those asks for people to fundraise and for donations. And so this was an opportunity to, without adding a ton of resources and adding a ton of effort, to use that heightened awareness to generate revenue through Facebook fundraising. And it was really exciting to kind of see that play out.
That's great. I think goal number 3 strikes me as a consistent theme that we hear from a lot of nonprofits, specifically when you think about you're spending so much time posting and creating content for social channels and Facebook in particular, but it often doesn't equate to what we'll call revenue or even named individuals coming in as leads, as we'll talk about in just a few minutes. So there's an inherent value that was, by doing this and by the test proving out, very, very real results that could prove, and at scale, like the potential to scale for this for y'all is great. Colin, I'm going to shift over to you, as there was some approach here, and you tell the story best, especially when we were talking even yesterday about this and how excited you were. I want to make sure to give you kind of how we went approach this to support the Alliance from our perspective and what that looked like, specifically around the use of Facebook Messenger, and then going to who we knew were supporters, and the strategies involved with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So stemming off that conversation Chelsea and I had where we were strategizing around what exactly to do here, it really started with understanding, okay, how many people can we reach, right? The whole reason why we go into conversational messaging platforms is to get people subscribed in so that we can communicate with them. If you can't communicate with them, you can't get them to take action. And so once we had that, really it was focusing in and drilling in on ensuring that we are giving people that positive experience. And when I say that, I mean abiding by those conversational design principles, right? The way that you build things are going to be more interactive in Messenger. And so you really need to be able to allow people to go down the path of what they want to do and let them share with you the types of things they want to do and take action for. And then ultimately, one of the big areas of all this is really thinking about making this a frictionless way to convert into taking action. And so that's something that we want to be able to leverage, within the nonprofit manager tools, a surface, which is really just a way to be able to show the group of people that want to take action for Dress in Blue Day and for the Awareness Month, that there's more people that are rallying alongside them to raise money in aggregate to take effect. And so when we think about the approach, it's really starting from the top. Okay, we've got all these people, we build equity into the channel. How do we now leverage them to go and take action? And then ultimately, I am absolutely someone who is keyed in on data. So Chelsea and I want to make sure that every part along the way, we have very, very detailed information as to what the engagement rates are. What are the parts that worked? What are something we could improve in the future? And then ultimately, like you said, Adam, really, this is all about building equity into the channel. And so while, yes, we started with targeting 900 people, 440 came into the campaign. The entire theory behind all this is that as we acquire people in as subscribers, the effects of doing this next year are going to far outweigh what we did this year. So there's a ton involved.
Great. And thanks for that context and setting it up, Colin. And Chelsea, one of the biggest things we hear and continue to hear is what is actual use of Messenger? Is it really worth even messing with at any shape or form, or can we just turn it off? Like, this sounds like it was such an instrumental part of how you engaged your existing social subscribers, to then go and say, hey, make this ask. Like, would you be open to fundraising, right? Was that something that y'all had been doing previously and just kind of felt natural and tandem with Colin? Like, what was that process looking like from the internal conversation?
Yeah, so we've used the messaging before with Good United, and we've done challenges and we've done those things in the past. I think that the difference here was the opportunity to reach out to all of these folks at once, and that has been the challenge for us. And Maria has said it many times, meeting people where they are, and that's something that Good United helps us do. And they come to us through Facebook, and that's where they want to be, then that's where we should be communicating with them. And so we've done that in more of a one-off kind of way, but this was an opportunity to really kind of gather the masses and reach out to them all at once, which I think was new and different for us. And I was excited about the possibilities. And still, I think to Colin's point, I'm excited about building on this year and what can happen in the future as we build the strategy.
Perfect. Let's get into the good stuff, which everyone wants to know about. There's 2 slides for these results. And now that we've kind of covered how things happen, what we went through, this will give us both the high level and probably the more granular level insight. And we'll walk through what exactly was done, right? These are great numbers. These are splashy numbers from looking at just a quick glance. Yes, $30,705 isn't a massive amount. But if you think about that was unplanned revenue, yay. If you think about the fact of like, hey, this actually is a big chunk of money for a lot of nonprofits today. Like you think about where it's coming from, and from the sounds of it, pretty low amount of effort to get things up and running and moving, as well as a very, very minimal monetary investment. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's borderline $0 in terms of how we went about this, because we were using that reactivation method. 440 people said, yes, I want to get in on this action. They opted in. Of that, 37 fundraisers were started, which equated to $3,705 raised for Dress in Blue Day. Now, the fun part, though, is getting into more of the results. And, some of this was, as I was looking at with Colin, I was like, the 100% open rate that we have highlighted in pink sticks out as like, are you kidding me? But then there's also things of like, hey, this 913 total people that we messaged, that was the starting group. And of that, 48% opted in, which was that 440 number we saw on the previous slide. 64 clicked to start, which is 14.5% fundraising conversion. 37 actually raised money. The one thing I want to highlight here too, that 21 people said no, but outlined other ways they want to support CCA or the Alliance, right? And of all the things that jumped out at me most, and the thing that ties back to Messenger and the value that it brings, especially when you think about this idea of conversational messaging, is it wasn't just a do this, fundraise for us, and then we're dropping off, right? Colin, what does that look like from a messaging perspective when we're able to provide supporters the ability to tell us not only if they want to give, in this case, a monetary form, but also help us to understand how they prefer to support the mission further?
Yeah, so tying back to what I had mentioned earlier, really, whenever we have someone going through into this and opting into this journey for Dress in Blue Day, we want to be respectful of the fact that some people at that moment in time are not willing or want to take a revenue generating action. And that's okay. So when we have those opportunities, we do want to ask them how they envision themselves staying involved. And so like you had said, Adam, we had about 21 people reach out with things all over the place. We had a woman reach out saying that she wanted to be able to sign petitions to help, force through legislation. We had someone reach out saying that they'd like to support other people going through colorectal cancer, different advocacy actions. And really that helps to enlighten us as to what other opportunities can we provide to these people, even if an action like taking a fundraiser is not the correct action for them at that moment in time. What that allows us to do is develop that relationship, give them autonomy as to how they want to take action for the Alliance, and then ultimately allow for us to be able to build that lifetime value in a meaningful way.
That's great. Thanks so much, Colin. Courtney just dropped the link into their actual native challenge surface that they use to do this in the chat. And it's a cool thing to see. Chelsea, from your perspective, 2 things I'm curious about. One is, did you expect to see this kind of results? And then we'll go after, I got the other question after that one.
Yeah, I think I like we said before, I had a hunch that folks would buy into this because we knew these were the people who have fundraised for us in the past, right? So that reactivation strategy, I think, made us really confident. And I think it's worth noting when we talk about results, there's that fun little thing called multi-touch attribution that makes it really difficult to know for sure just how many people started fundraisers because of this. Of course, these numbers reflect the folks that clicked the link in the messenger and went to that native that space and that challenge and took advantage of it that way. But I feel like it's worth noting that we in March of this year had 284 fundraising campaigns in comparison to our 93 in March of 2022. So we absolutely had a big increase in activation in terms of starting fundraisers. We surpassed our revenue numbers from March 2022 this year, and just saw a lot more activity in general. So while those numbers reflect the folks that clicked that exact link within the messenger, I really feel like this enhanced our efforts in a way that, because we will never fully know, but we know that it's really enhanced our efforts and our numbers across the board.
And that's such a great point, Chelsea. I know as in marketing for years, the idea of multi-touch attribution is things a lot of organizations spend a lot of money to do. We're always trying to quantify, but activity like that, where you can actually correlate actions to increase, it may not be all the contributing factor, but it plays a part. It helps too, as you think about, for you, building the value of Facebook internally with Alliance. Like that's a big case that you could say, hey, like, not only monetarily, but there's these other parallel benefits. Colin, quick question for you. I chose to highlight the $8 fundraisers on purpose. Here at the very last bullet point, the average raise was $127 per fundraiser. Is that, two questions here, is that on par with what you would expect in terms of the average raise? But then also the $0 fundraisers, how does that play in terms of what we normally see for a normal kind of run like this? And more importantly, what are we doing with those $0 fundraisers? Is there reactivation that we can do? Is there things that we can nudge them? Or is there plans to, as a next step, to figure out how to take those people who took the first step and then help guide them to the next step after this?
Awesome question. So keying in on $0 fundraisers, and then we'll jump into the average raise questions. The $0 fundraiser metric varies widely amongst missions. We have some missions where most of their people garner that first donation and they span up to about 60% of people raise money. And then we have other organizations where the brand awareness may not be there, or their mission tied to who they are as a nonprofit is not connecting with the masses. And so they tend to have a little higher percentages of $0. So that's sort of what that looks like. And then the average raise being $127, when you key in on what we were doing in this specific campaign, that is very good. And the reason why I want to point that out is that typically whenever we have people going through and creating fundraisers, we give them a more elongated experience that allows them to be coached and figure out, what are those different tips or things that I'm not doing that would allow someone to see my fundraiser and get that donation. And when we talk about opportunities, and this also goes into $0 of how to either activate people into getting that initial donation or raising more money, that is part of that relationship building, right? When they're going through that fundraising moment, you need to support them. You need to give them a great experience and give them ways to be successful. And so while, yes, it's great that we had that number of people raising that amount on average, there is so much more that can be done. But in terms of what we were trying to accomplish in this campaign and be able to support and get people to go out there and, change their profile to wearing their dress in blue for the Alliance or whatever the action was, there was a ton of value there. But, like I had mentioned earlier, there is so much more that we'll be able to do within building that relationship with each individual subscriber.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Colin. And I'm trying to remember if I forgot anything that we covered before this. Colin, keep me honest here. There was very minimal spend, right? There was no ads run. This was all done through Messenger as a way to promote and make the ask. And that's how we ended up here, right?
Yeah. So that's the beauty of what Facebook coins as having people collect recurring notification permissions. What that means is when someone comes in and they subscribe, they are giving you the ability to be able to reach out to them. If someone does not give you that ability, what happens is there's a 24-hour window. So if you do not interact, we cannot reach out to that subscriber. And Meta does that as a way to protect the user experience. So it's a very important thing to do. But like you had said, once we get that permission, we have it in virtual perpetuity until someone says, no, I don't want to connect with you all anymore. And we can do that at no cost. And then additionally, any other efforts that we have to support this, there's honestly not anything in terms of how much money you have to put in there. It's really, again, about building that equity into getting people subscribed in and understanding the power that, okay, yes, it gives us the ability to communicate, but ultimately when we start thinking about budgeting, right, when Chelsea and her team are looking at what they have to put behind these campaigns, it's a big deal if you have to realize that, hey, we don't have to go find any budget to be able to do this. That is a huge deal. And so really the return is not able to be calculated because there is no spend number. It's sort of infinite.
I do like the infinite number. And that's a great call. I think for those of you listening that are like subscriber, what is that in the context of Facebook? Think about your email subscribers and your own channels with email, your house files. Same idea, only in Facebook, right? There's no real coin term, so we're calling them social subscribers for the time being till someone comes up with something catchy. But it's the same idea. Opt in, opt out. The only nice thing is that if you are on Facebook and you interact with the nonprofit, you get the opted in action, which was some of the big updates that were done at the back end of last year from the Meta team, social impact team, which we were all really, really excited to see for a lot of reasons and how it helps to accelerate nonprofits' mission, especially when it comes to social media fundraising. Now, I don't like to leave people who are watching this either now or in the future without some next steps or some key action items that they could take from all of these learnings and deploy those today, tomorrow, or in the future. Chelsea, we got, oh no, my slides. I'm going to reload my slides real quick. In the meantime, Chelsea, we kind of hinted at what yours was earlier, and it's the recycling of what you got to make it work easy. Can you kind of go into that more for people who are here so they can go think about how to do this in context moving forward?
Yeah, I think in the nonprofit space, we kind of get stuck in that space of what's the next shiny new thing that we can try with our supporters. And especially when it comes to technology, we tend to think, oh, we've got to do something new and cool and unique. But really and truly, you've probably already got something, whether it's a campaign or a program that you could use this platform to enhance rather than trying to recreate the wheel or create something from scratch. And so my key takeaway and what I would encourage everyone on the call to do is to really think about what's happening at your org that this messaging strategy can enhance and can help build on rather than trying to create something brand new that you've got to use in order to use this technology. I think that's a huge piece in terms of what Colin said around zero ads and limiting the resources and the time that you need to put into it. This is about an enhancement tool rather than something brand new.
Perfect. Got the slide up just in time. I'll get screen caps of this in the follow-up email. This is what I get for updating, making tweaks. Colin, from your point of view, what are your key takeaways that nonprofit listeners can take home today?
Yeah, so I've got three big ones. Really, the top one is don't waste time. Meta's given an awesome opportunity to get these people in using that default opt-in, which I'm sure now has become ubiquitous and people have heard about it, but that default opt-in allows you to functionally message people. You can see these people coming into your nonprofit manager, but if you don't have a plan to take action or something to be able to move these people into a campaign like we had done with Dress in Blue Day, then each day that goes by is opportunity lost. And I mean that in a very positive way, because there is a ton that you can be doing here. But start today, start getting those people in and dip your toes in the water. Secondly, one of the things that I know I've harped on multiple times here, and many of my partner contacts hear me sound like a broken record on, is ensure the user experience is positive, it's meaningful, and it's frictionless, right? If it's not something that is meaningful and you can't answer to yourself that, hey, if I were someone getting this message, I would take action, it's probably not great. And if it's not frictionless, meaning you're not giving people a very simple way to take action and not require time out of their day that they don't need to take, then you are going to be hurting yourself from a conversion standpoint, but also the user experience is just not up to par with where it should be. So again, always, and I know you all in the nonprofit community know this, place yourself in the seat of your supporter first and foremost. And if you can't answer those two main areas that, the campaign is meaningful and you're creating a frictionless experience, then you might want to go back to the drawing board. And then lastly, tie the connection for the why. And when I say the why, that really goes into that meaningful side of things. Be thoughtful and judicious about what those moments are, right? We have Chelsea, and if she is a supporter of the Alliance and all we're doing is hammering her with fundraising actions every single month and not building that relationship, we're hurting ourselves in the long term. Chelsea had mentioned all these people are repeat, right? But it's one thing to have someone go from starting a fundraiser a first time to going to a second time, but you don't want to hurt that experience in between and risk losing out on that third and fourth time. And so really, these are my big takeaways and things that we've learned here. And yeah, that's what I want to share.
Perfect. Thanks, Colin. And on that too, you think about, I went a little extra and actually made a graphic. No, thanks to Brenna, my art graphic designer in house, to illustrate that last point to Colin's point and really my key takeaway. What we've done over the last 6 months to a year, roughly, if not a little longer, is to figure out what that looks like and how to help nonprofits do that repeat action on social media, specifically Facebook, with the help of Messenger. It's kind of we outlined with Chelsea and Colin here today. There's roughly, Colin, keep me honest here, about 7 different touch points, or what we'll call journeys, throughout this kind of flywheel effect, where we're thinking about being very strategic, not only making a initial, hey, come join my Facebook challenge, come give us money, but rather, as we talked about today, understanding how those individuals want to support or give, when they want to, and allowing them to do it in ways that matter most to them. At the end of the day, like that's it. That's what we're trying to do here at Good United, and what we've done with this particular instance with the Alliance, and what we'll continue to do as we go on through the future. Colin, with each one of the this flywheel, can you walk me through real quick in like less than a minute what this actually means from your point of view?
Yeah, so this is traditional relationship building, right? When you have people come in, you've got to be able to have that first touch point, understand who they are, that initial journey, right? When Chelsea comes in, she starts a fundraiser, I need to understand more about her. What is she doing from the fundraising side? What is her story? Why is she connecting with us? And then ultimately, as you get out of that initial relationship and that journey, understanding the way in which they want to stay involved. It's not dependent on us as the Good United team or the Alliance to tell someone what action they should take. You want to give them that opportunity and that action and let them take an action in the way that's meaningful to them as it relates to your mission. Ultimately, throughout the year, once you've gotten into those first 2 stages, it's all about cultivating them. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know the updates you guys have made. If there are new findings, new biomarkers that have been discovered, whatever it is, let these people know. There's a reason why they support you. They want to be able to further the mission. So if you can share those types of impacts and updates, that's going to go a long way. And then from a relationship side, we're not asking for anything. This is all about just building the relationship, not having them come back all throughout the year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, fundraising ask every single time we reach out, because there's a time and place for that. And then ultimately, as you move over to that calls to action stage, it's really about capitalizing on that initial intention of how they want to take action in that stay involved section, right? So if Chelsea tells me, hey, I had a great time birthday fundraising for you all this year and I want to do it again next year, well, when her birthday comes up, we need to be able to prompt her to be able to take that action, and then ultimately tying back to my second point, make that frictionless. We should not, have to have Chelsea go through and stumble on 10 different things that she needs to set up before she can actually create her fundraiser. We need to make that something that takes 5 seconds for her. And so really that becomes a circular loop. And as you get people coming in and acquired in as subscribers, it builds on itself.
Dang, sorry, Colin. I made my takeaways your slide unintentionally. I think to that point too. The only thing I had to add to that is don't bounce your supporters out of channel. Right. I think if there's one thing we've seen is that there's a gigantic drop off when it comes to trying to take people out of Facebook and put them into the ways that we as nonprofit professionals want them to give, as opposed to letting and enabling our supporters to give where they're at. It's what our whole mission is based on. And we've found time and time again, there's no reason to try and bounce them. Let your supporters support you and give where they're at. Okay. We're wrapping up time. I'm keeping things on pace. I'm really proud of myself today. One last thing too, if any of this clicked or set off a light bulb in your head, and you want at least have a understanding of what Good United could potentially do, similar to what we've done with the Alliance, with this particular case study and previous examples, give that QR code a scan. We've dropped the link to our pricing page in the chat as well. If you put in that you were attended Fundraising Heroes, we're giving onboarding, we're waiving that fee through the end of May. All we need is a qualified kind of discussion. Start a form fill. We'll get in touch with you. We'll have that discussion, and we'll make sure to go through and take a look at that onboarding waived as our way of saying, hey, we get it. Thank you for coming and spending time with us today. We know the value. Hopefully Chelsea has outlined the value of what we're doing here and what we've got cooking with Facebook and Messenger and our conversational messaging platform. And you get access to people like Colin and Molly, me if you're unlucky on this aspect. But give that scan, drop a link. Love to have a conversation, 15 to 20 minutes, to see if this could potentially be a fit for you and your nonprofit, regardless of the size. That's the other cool thing that we're seeing. We have about probably 5 minutes, give or take. If there's any questions, I haven't seen anything pop up. Now is the time to drop those in the comments. Other than that, we established earlier before this started that Chelsea and I are lovingly in the elder millennial bucket, Collins, but a wee baby still. I don't think there's anything. I always like to ask, what's the most boring thing about people? I'll save you both from that. Me, I like to flip shoes. I think that's boring to other people. I think otherwise. Chelsea, Colin, is there any last thoughts or things you want to leave our viewers with before we cut this off?
No, I think just encouraging everyone that's on the call to really think about how this can be an enhancement to the efforts that you're already putting forth. Being at a small nonprofit now and coming from a large nonprofit in a previous role, I know that no matter the size of the nonprofit, resources are always as good as gold, and anything that you can do that's a light lift and you can see a return on is worth considering. So definitely just encourage everyone to think about this in that way.
I'm not even going to try to top Chelsea. That was perfect. Exactly what I was saying. No lie. She's dead on. Get in there, get your feet wet, start to ideate and brainstorm about things that you have coming up and ways that you can take strategic steps like Chelsea did, and then measure the impact. That's the fun part.
Perfect. All right, Chelsea, Colin, both of you, thank you so much. Y'all for joining us. Thank you for taking some time. My name's Adam. I'm here at Good United. This has been Fundraising Heroes. I'm excited to introduce not only the Facebook boot camp coming up in June, but also future iterations of this specific digital event. Y'all have a great day and have a good one.